What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera, and with me on a Friday, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Michelle Magdziuk. What's up, Michelle?
Hey, hey. Now, I wish right now that I had a mimosa in my hand because I wish we were celebrating to say that the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. And I wish this was going to be a happy podcast. But instead, I'm drinking a coffee and I'm sad and depressed that it was just the worst game of all time. Like, there was just nothing even exciting to watch.
Don't act like you're drinking that coffee because the 49ers lost on Sunday. Little peek behind the curtain. Michelle said, we need to do the podcast at 11 o'clock your time. I said, great, 11 o'clock, no problem. Then I get a text message from you last night. Yeah, we're going to have to go later. I'm up till 2 a.m. I've been up until 2 a.m. every night. Finally, we sit down before we press record. I say, Michelle, what is happening in your life? Why are you awake till 2 o'clock every day? Tell people who has kept you up until 2 a.m.
It's my parents.
Your
They're in town.
parents.
My parents are in town visiting for the weekend. They're wild animals, man. Like they're they're younger than I am apparently because I'm like, damn, you guys are crazy, bringing me back to my early 20s here. I feel like I'm struggling. I'm too old for this life, but I would have sucked it up and definitely been drinking a mimosa right now if the 49ers were going to the Super Bowl. But instead, I feel like I'm the only person that is mad at the 49ers. I feel like everyone else is just like, well, what'd you want them to do? No, I am actually mad at the 49ers. And I got a lot of 49ers fans mad at me on Twitter. And I don't care. That game did embarrass me. It embarrassed me.
Welcome to my world. 49ers fans are mad at you. We're going to get into that. Before we do, I want to remind everybody, please rate, review, follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Don't unsubscribe to Niners Nation just yet, but make sure you follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the reviews that have come in. This one comes from Hink Dad, 5 stars, the best source of 49ers content. Rob has a talent for delivering Niners content in a way that we fans understand. Getting perspective from a knowledgeable fan, sometimes dripping with emotion, is like listening to your best friend talk football with you. You get all the anger and frustration over boneheaded decisions, as well as the over-the-top jubilation when it goes right. Sometimes Rob can get off the rails with emotion, and then Levin is right there to reel him back in with his no-nonsense facts and delivery style. If you then mix in the sunshine Michelle brings to the show, you have a recipe for a really great team and wholesome entertainment. Keep up the great work. Where's the sunshine today, Michelle? That's what I want to know.
I know people aren't going to be happy with me today because I'm not going to be all nice. All right. I'm not. I was mad at that game. Can we talk about it? Like, we haven't got the chance to talk about this game yet. I know you've talked about it a bunch with Levin, but you and I have not had a chance to sit down and actually have a conversation. I feel like nobody's understanding my side and why I'm mad at the team. Well, why I'm mad at Kyle Shanahan specifically. Yes, I'm very hard on Kyle. I get that, but I was disappointed with the way he handled that second half.
Specifically, what?
They played 10 versus 11. That's what they did. That's what they decided to do. Purdy couldn't possibly throw a ball, right? Farther than 2 feet. He can't run either. So you're having someone out there that can do absolutely nothing. Like, at least have CMC just taking the snaps and put another body on the field that can run or attempt a pass that's 10 yards. Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. I'm not saying that they weren't going to come back and win anyways, but you're playing 10 versus 11 for a quarter and a half. You just gave up a quarter and a half. You just completely gave up and said, we're going to play one man down the entire time for literally no reason. What was the purpose of having Purdy on the field? There was literally no reason to have him on the field. You played one man down for an entire quarter and a half, and that just boggled my mind.
Kyle said after the game that they were going to do some Wildcat stuff, but they needed to pick up a couple of first downs first. It was sort of a weird
How are you going to pick them
explanation.
up with no quarterback? How are you going to pick it? How are you going to pick up first downs when you're playing 10 versus 11? Tell me.
But I also think that he wanted to keep the run game as normal as possible because he thought that that was their best way for success. And if you have Christian McCaffrey, a quarterback, you obviously can't do that.
Okay, what's going to be the success of the run?
What's going to be the success of Christian McCaffrey passing?
Who you have to at least try. You have to at least put, the defense can't know you're just going to run your normal run every single play. Like, it's not there's no hope then. There was no hope anyways, but at least put McCaffrey out there doing some different things. And at least it would be entertaining as well. Like, you're giving the
Well,
fans nothing. You're giving them nothing. You're already going to lose. Who cares if McCaffrey threw a couple interceptions? Who literally cares? You're down by 21 points. Like, who cares if you lose by 40 or 21? Like, go out there and show us something entertaining. They literally just ran the ball every single play for a quarter and a half. That was like, Kyle just gave up. He just gave up is what he
I
did.
think your beef is really that it was just super boring for a quarter and a half at the end of that game, and you're looking at it from an
But they gave
entertainment
up. No,
standpoint.
they gave up.
Well,
100%. They just
they
didn't
wouldn't say
even
that.
try.
They would say our best chance to win was doing what we did.
Oh my goodness. How in the world are you ever going to score doing that when a team definitely 100% knows you're going to run on every single play?
Block. They would say block and execute. I mean, I don't think that their chances to win are going to
When
go
you
up
just
with
bring out the entire defense up and you're already playing 10 versus 11. You're already playing 10 versus 11. So you're down 1 and then you get to bring everyone up. So it's really like you're down 5. Like, stop. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it.
This
You have
is, I love this because this is emotional Michelle. This is angry Michelle. This is like real 49er fandom coming through. I love it. Like, you're mad that they lost. You're mad that
because they
they,
should be in the Super Bowl. And I
yes, I
get they weren't going
know.
to get there no matter what once Brock Purdy, Josh Johnson. Well, also, how is Josh Johnson even a backup? How is he even in the NFL? Because that was just
Well,
the
don't
worst
forget,
thing I've ever seen.
I mean, he's not really a backup. He's a backup.
How is he even in the NFL at this point? I don't know. He's stuck around for quite a long time too. Someone out there has to be better than that. That was pitiful.
I mean, Josh Johnson's been in the league a long time. And I think there's like, when you've been in the league a long time in that role, which is kind of just like, I don't mean this to be a slight, but it's going to sound like that. He's a seat filler, right? He's like a seat filler at the Oscars. He never thought he would have to play. Like, I just think that his brain was not.
You're going into the game as the only other quarterback. You're the second quarterback. He should have been super prepared to have to go into this game.
But I think that, like, in his mind, he just got to a place where I don't really play. I just sort of get to be on the sidelines. And because you could see when he got in there, he was totally overwhelmed. I mean, he couldn't even catch the snap.
He was so bad. It was the whole thing. And then they just got too emotional because they were mad. And then Trent Williams. And then that's also what was like, they just lost their cool, everything about it. It already was just the worst championship game of all time. And Kyle gave us nothing to watch. It wasn't like, oh, we'll see CMC run all over the place and throw some balls. And like, at least you give us something when they're going to lose anyways. Like, give us something.
Right. See,
Instead,
you're
it was
looking at
just,
it. You want entertainment.
Running. Yeah. You might as well entertain us when there's nothing else to root.
He doesn't care about that. Kyle does not care about entertaining.
You're not winning. Fans. You're not winning running up. They barely did any, whatever. It was the worst. And this is Kyle Shanahan just folds when he just folds. He's just like, he's that little brat that, he didn't go his way. So he just gave up.
I can't believe your huge beef with Kyle Shanahan is he didn't throw enough running back passes in the NFC Championship game.
I have a lot of beefs with Kyle Shanahan. He's stubborn, and he, I go through roller coaster emotions with him through every season.
I mean, he just won 12 in a row.
Yeah.
Most of that with a third-string rookie quarterback that was the last pick in the draft. Most teams can't even win with their backup quarterback. And you're getting on Kyle because they ran out of passers in the NFC Championship game.
There was one time the Broncos had to start Kendall Hinton, a wide receiver. And you know what? They didn't run on every goddamn play.
Yeah, and how'd they do in the game? How'd that work out?
How did it work out running on every, like, that's what I'm saying. You're going to lose either way. So you might as well at least try to score points. They didn't even try. They just played 10 versus 11 and they didn't even try.
Like I said, I think their argument would be we did what we thought was the best.
Play one man down is the best way to go.
Better than having some random dude. Kyle Juszczyk and Christian McCaffrey were huddling up with Brian Griese on the sideline, like trying to go over quarterback stuff. Like that again. If that's what you think,
so having no man on the field is better than having another man.
They probably
You're saying having nothing's better than having one guy.
I think they would argue that there's probably less chance of a turnover if that happens. Like, again, just having someone physically throw the ball doesn't automatically mean you're going to be successful. Like, why is that? If they put
Purdy
me back
couldn't do
there,
anything. Purdy can't throw or run. So he's a waste of a body. He can't do anything that you need on a football field. He's a waste of a body out there.
He
You
can
put
hand
someone
off.
else in that can at least run. If you all you want to do is run, then
Who?
put someone else in that can run. Like you can figure it out. Put another guy in. Put someone in at wide receiver. Have Debo back there, which they did, or have Ayuk, or have, I don't know, literally anybody. Have Juice, have another body, put in every body you can that is physically able to play football so that you have 11 people on the field. They only had 10.
I just think it's really weird that like your answer is just throw the ball in the air. We don't care. It doesn't matter where it
I
goes.
didn't say
Doesn't matter
just
if it's
throw it.
intercepted.
I said have 11 versus 11. And even then, if you want to run it, fine. At least you have 11 guys that can do something.
Well, Brock was capable of running.
Well, they didn't run with him once, so
He's not really a runner, even though he
was
actually
he
can
going
run.
to run and get tackled with his injury? No, they're not going to do that to him, as they shouldn't.
I don't know. I don't know that it would have made it that much worse because, like, once the ligament is, well, the other thing is, like, did they know the ligament was actually torn? I would assume not because the way they were working on him on the sideline, it was like they were trying to fix something. It's like if they knew the ligament was torn, they can't reattach it on the sideline.
I don't think they knew it was torn.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I kept thinking he was going to come back in. Like every drive, I was like, okay, he's going to get back in.
Well, that was the feeling, right? And that's why, like, for a while it was close. So you were like, look, maybe Josh Johnson comes in, right? And then McCaffrey scores the touchdown. And you're like, oh my God, like we might be able to weather this storm a little bit. Maybe Brock can come back in. The defense settles down. And of course, we all know it didn't happen. And now we're in this weird situation, Michelle. Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady just retired. So that back door just completely was shut. And now, Kyle said in the press conference and John that they're not looking for a veteran quarterback, that this is it. Their strategy is hope. Hope that Trey comes back healthy. Hope that Brock doesn't need the full Tommy John surgery because that would be a 9 to 12 month recovery. Hope is their plan for 2023.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting offseason because they are going to go into the season thinking that Purdy is their starting quarterback, right? So Trey Lance is going to have to prove that he's worth a lot. Like he's going to have to really ball out this offseason. And then if he does get the starts the first 2 weeks, like it's going to be a short leash, which is crazy to say because the dude has not played like literally any consistent football since 2019. So he was already like so raw. He had so little experience. And now you're getting into his third year in the NFL and he still has such little experience. So it's going to be hard for him to prove himself. It really will be. But with Brock, this is the thing I'm talking about here with this injury, right? He already doesn't like his weakness. You would say he already doesn't have the strongest arm in the world.
Mm-hmm.
How does this injury affect that even more? Like, does he come back and he's the same, or does he come back and he loses just a little bit? And if he loses just a little bit, that might be, oh, you're no longer an NFL quarterback because it already was right there in the line. He has a lot of good skill sets and it's all right there. He has an average arm, but if you lose that, then does it become below average? And
right. I think it was already below average. If you lose it, are you incapable of playing quarterback at this level? I think that's a fair question to ask.
So Ben had the same injury, right? Well, he had the surgery though, right? The Tommy John surgery.
Well, the only starter quarterback that had started recently that I know that had the surgery is actually Nick Mullins after he got hurt coming in for Jimmy Garoppolo, which is pretty crazy.
Well, Ben had a very similar, it was the UCL. So he had a very similar injury in 2019 when he missed he missed the whole season and then, slowly started to ramp up during the offseason. It took a while. He had to throw the smaller balls or whatever. But in I get the age difference. I mean, what is it? Like 16 years age difference. So it's massive. But in 2018, Ben still had plenty of zip. That offense was fantastic in 2018. He comes back in 2020 after the injury. His arm was gone. It was done. He was lobbying up passes now. It was just, the zip was completely gone. The injury ruined his arm completely. Now, like I said, Brock Purdy's 22 instead of 38 or whatever Ben was. So completely different. But Purdy never had Ben's arm strength, like not even remotely in the same atmosphere. So I am a little bit worried about what this injury will do. And also, like, he's not going to be able to practice with the team, like during the offseason, like where they go on trips and they work out together. Like it's going to be a completely different offseason for him, which this was such an important one because going from your rookie year to your second year, like this is really the time you're supposed to focus and have the most growth. I just don't know if that's going to be available to him.
Yeah, I mean, they won't really know until he has the surgery, which technically he hasn't even decided to have surgery yet. So he's
Yeah.
got to make that decision. And then once he decides, or if he decides to have the surgery, then once they cut him open, they got to look and say, oh, okay, can we repair this? Because I guess the repair, they just, I don't know, reattach the actual ligament that's there. But the Tommy John, they take it out completely and replace it with a different ligament. So that's why the recovery is longer. And we won't know any of that. And like, I think that's a fair question because, like, to hear Kyle tell it, oh, if he has the easier surgery, he can start throwing after 3 months, and then at 6 months, like, you don't have to ramp him up. Like, he'll be back and ready to go for training camp, and it'll be full go. And it's like, whoa, just the way he was talking about it, like, you could tell he thinks of Brock as the starter, in my opinion. But I think it's totally fair to ask: is his arm going to snap back to what it was? And if there's any drop off whatsoever, that's a legitimate question. You have to be tall enough to ride the bumper cars. And if suddenly you lose a couple inches off your height, you're not tall enough to ride the bumper cars. And the same thing happens with arm strength. Even if you know all the reads, even if you know all that stuff, you still have to get the ball from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. And if you can't do it, there's nothing you can do to really compensate for that.
Yeah, it does worry me a little bit. And the way, like, Shanahan's just like, well, they told me he was going to be completely back to normal after 6 months. He'd be himself. And it's like, will he? Like, will he? That seems like really optimistic right there. And 6 months, I mean, that gets you to August. So, like, he would be pretty much ready to go for training camp. I don't know. I like just focus on Trey Lance. I feel like this is your like you got the out now. Like before, if Brock Purdy played, he was too good to say no. This is Trey's team again. Like he was just too good. Now you kind of have the out where you can't really develop Purdy this offseason. It's not like I get in 3 months he can throw, but it's going to take time, and he's not going to have all that time with his teammates, like I brought up. So focus on developing Trey Lance this year. Focus on him, working with the team and being that leader. And then if Trey Lance were to get hurt again or fail in the first few weeks, I know like that's a small leash, and then put Brock back in. I don't know, just saying like Brock's our guy, it seems a little dangerous.
Dan Orlovsky had a really good tweet earlier today. Trey Lance has thrown 420 passes in a live game setting since 2016. Okay?
That's 7 years ago.
He hasn't started and finished a game in back-to-back weeks since 2019. He literally has not had a chance to show what he can do. And the difficult thing from his perspective is he's always competing against somebody that has earned a lot of respect in the locker room. First, it was Jimmy Garoppolo. Now it's Brock Purdy. Matt Mayoko just said on his podcast that if Brock is not the starter, there's going to be, quote, a lot of pissed off people in the 49ers locker room. I'm not sold on Brock 100%. I really wish they would focus on Trey, because here's the other thing. Defensive coordinators now have, 7-8 games of tape on Brock Purdy. They're going to study that. They're going to adjust. That's just part of the natural ebb and flow of any player's career. So, yeah, Brock came in and put up some gaudy numbers, but that's no guarantee he's going to be able to keep that going. And we don't know how he's going to react based on how the defenses adjust to him. So, like, everything is up in the air. And I do want to see Lance do it. My question to you is this, Michelle. Like you mentioned it, he's going to have to ball out in the preseason. Like, what does that even mean? What does that look like? I don't even know.
He's going to have to come in and be a fantastic leader. Like, I do think the leadership part is going to have to be huge for him, because it seems like the team really, really respected Brock Purdy. Like, they respected how he handled himself, how he handled the, I don't know, just like how he handled the game. He seemed like a really good leader. I think Trey needs to show more of that. I'm not there, right? I don't know if Trey was already showing that, but it seems like the team really preferred the way Brock Purdy handled himself, just was the leader of that team over Lance. Did you get that same feeling, or am I just making this up?
I get the feeling they liked Brock. Like they latched on to his personality. I don't know that happened with Trey. Everything I heard about Trey behind the scenes was that he was doing the right things, that they
He seems
liked
like a
him.
great kid, but that doesn't mean you're a great leader.
he doesn't have the fiery personality that
Yeah.
Brock has, right? Like Brock gets in there, he throws a touchdown, he's doing the injected into my veins celebration, he's doing like
Yes.
the roar and stuff. Like I think that was the perfect thing for this team at that time because he came in and everybody was like frozen for a second, right? They
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. Like, oh my God, Trey's hurt, Jimmy's hurt, third string guy, rookie. What's going to happen? And then he comes in and he didn't just come in and say, like, oh, shucks, I'll do the best I can, right? He came in, he threw a touchdown, and he was like, let's go. I'm doing it. This is like, we're going to kick ass. And I think the team was like, oh, okay, yes, like, let's go. And Trey didn't have that, right? But Trey was in a different scenario. Trey came in and he was like, hey, I know Jimmy's still here. I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to show you, right? I'm not going to tell you. I'll show you. And then he never got the chance to do it. So they never like had that chance to latch onto him like they did with Brock.
Yeah. I don't even know if Lance has it in him though to have that type of personality.
He might
seems like
not.
yeah. Which is fine. You don't have to be, celebrating like you don't have to be over the top to be a good quarterback. There are just some good quarterbacks that, just keep their head down and they just do their thing. It's not like when Jalen Hurts scores, he doesn't really do any celebration. He's just like focused 100% of the game. So you don't have to, put energy into your team like that. But I do think he's going to have to prove that he can lead a team. And we kept saying, well, he's so young, like he shouldn't have to do this yet. Brock Purdy was 22. Like he showed us that you can actually be a fantastic leader that young. And, these older vets will go to you and be like, okay, you're our leader, even when you're only 22 years old and a rookie and a 7th rounder. You know what I was thinking when you were just talking? If you had 1 million guesses of how the season was going to end, like say we were talking before the season and we were like, okay, what disappointing way can this season possibly end? I don't think we would ever said Brock Purdy gets hurt and we are devastated. Like this is the thing that's going to end us because Brock Purdy got hurt and we actually really wanted him in the game. Like how many guesses would you needed to get there?
A million. Like, this is a Madden thing, right? This is like, dude, I was playing Madden the other day. You'll never guess what happened. My starter got hurt. The backup got hurt. Then he got hurt. I had no quarterback. I ran out of quarterback. Like,
but they were all really good. The thing is,
right.
like, each backup was really, really good until we got to the 4th one.
You would rage quit if that happened. You'd just be like, that's ridiculous. I'm just going to restart, And then that's what I said too. Like, if you replayed the NFC Championship game 100 times, that never happens again. Never. But you only get one.
It was very, very disappointing. It really was. And I just like, even when he came back in, I was like, okay, like he's going to come back in. He's going to fight through this injury. I thought he was going to, I didn't realize, no one knew it was torn. So I just thought like, okay, like I thought they had a chance to come back once he came back in. And then you realize pretty quickly, oh, he's not back. He just is a body on a field. That's pointless.
Did you hear what he said to Kyle when he went to the sideline? He said, I can't throw. If maybe I could throw like a 5-yard pass, if that's okay. It's like, dude, you don't have to apologize for your arm just literally not functioning like a normal human arm.
Yeah. They had him throwing on the sideline a lot.
He was trying to, apparently, and he said like it was incredible pain. I've heard even now when he keeps his arm straight, it's okay. But if he has to bend it at all, like, and pick up anything, like he said, it really, really hurts, which is
and
like,
elbow injuries are just gross. Like having elbow pain. Ugh,
yeah. So it's a weird offseason for the 49ers. They just can't. They're just stuck in the mud. It's like purgatory. You never think that they're going to get out of it. They still don't have the quarterback situation settled. And as of 2 days ago, Michelle, they still had the 3rd best odds to win the Super Bowl next year.
I mean, they keep making the NFC Championship. They keep getting right there. It's just, yeah, I don't really know what's going to take this team over the top. You got to find a defensive coordinator. And I mean, this is the year where their defense was so dominant. Are they going to continue that dominance year after year? That's a hard thing to do. Probably not. So the offense is going to have to, they're going to have to be the second half of this year instead of the first half. Because the first half, the defense won a lot of games for them.
Yes.
And then the second half, they were putting up a lot of points. So they're going to have to come out and do that. I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is right now. I do know they need a 3rd quarterback. a good third quarterback, because you can't just go in with Trey Lance, who has no experience, and then a UCL tear Brock Purdy going into his second year. Those can't be your two guys. Like, obviously, you're going to have a third body no matter what in the quarterback room, but like, it can't be a guy like Josh Johnson. It has to be, I think it needs to be a veteran. And there are actually a lot of veteran free agents this offseason. Like, you have Teddy Bridgewater sitting out there. I think he'd be a great third option, because I think at this point in his career, he's not really looking for a starting gig, or like, he kind of just,
Is he looking for a third string gig?
yeah,
Michelle, that's the problem. Who's going to come and sign to be the third string guy?
I think Teddy could, at this point in his career, try to go. He also knows there's a high chance that he could play with the 49ers, because there's no freaking way that anyone stays healthy on this team. But they need a veteran that can help these two young, they're still two super young quarterbacks, help them grow and, be there and just help with their development. And then also, if he needed to play, Teddy Bridgewater's plenty good enough to get the job done for a game or two. Another one, Jacoby Brissett, is also a free agent, but with the way he played this year, I think he wouldn't be looking for a third string. I don't think anyone's going to give him a starting gig, but he's probably will be looking for at least a second stringer, at least on a team that he has a chance to compete.
That's the thing. I feel like you could say they need to sign a veteran, but no veteran's going to want to. You're almost better off like, hey, Phillip Rivers, what are you doing? You want to come just make an obscene amount of money for doing no work?
No.
I would much rather that than Teddy Bridgewater. You serious? Teddy Bridgewater.
Phillip
Teddy
Rivers.
Two Gloves? No way.
What about Mason Rudolph?
I mean, maybe.
He probably won't want to go be.
You know what I really want?
Yeah.
I want to go into a goddamn season without having to worry about who my third string quarterback is or my backup quarterback. We haven't had a quarterback play every game for this team. We've had it once in the last 8 years, and that was 2019, and they went to the Super Bowl. Other than that, they haven't had that since 2014. It's absurd. This is not real life, what's happening to the 49ers.
Andy Dalton?
No, I don't want any of these scrubs. I want the players we have to be on the field. I know, and it's unrealistic apparently, but damn. Now you got me crazy.
What about a Lamar Jackson trade? Give the Ravens Trey Lance, trade for Lamar Jackson.
I brought that up. I actually brought that up. I would be for it.
He actually gets injured quite a lot too, though.
That is true, and that's a downside. But here's the thing. Like, if Trey Lance develops the way we're all hoping, he becomes Lamar Jackson. So why not just actually acquire the real Lamar Jackson? I think it's worth picking up the phone and making a call. You include Lance in the deal. They have first-round picks after this year that they can trade. Why would you not, right? If you're the 49ers, don't you have to at least try? You have to at least look into it. I mean, this is the organization that literally called the Patriots and asked about trading for Tom Brady before.
Listen, and can I just talk about how happy I am that Tom Brady is retiring and that it's not even going to be considered for the 49ers? Tom Brady is going to be 46. He can't move. There is nothing there anymore. Like, no, you don't want to go get Tom Brady. Like, I was not for that. And I don't know if I could root for a team that had Tom Brady on it. So, because I have too much.
You're scarred.
I don't know what, I'm just scarred. Okay. My heart can't handle rooting for a Tom Brady led team. I'm happy he retired. He's gone. I can't picture him actually coming back a second time and embarrassing himself like that, coming out of retirement twice. So I just didn't even think that should be an option for the 49ers, but I do think they would have looked into it pretty hard. And I'm just happy that's not even a possibility.
It would have been weird, like rooting for the team. It would have been like, Tom, you're not really a part of this, like whether it's Lance or Brock, they've been here, they've gone through it a little bit. It would have been weird if it was Brady. I do think it's going to be fascinating next season, Michelle, because the Niners go to Philadelphia in the regular season next year. That game is going to be, I hope it's not early in the season, although maybe I do, especially if Philly wins the Super Bowl. I'm not sure about how I feel about that.
That could be game one.
That's true.
If Philly wins the Super Bowl, that could be the opener.
That would be insane, especially if Brock is back, right? If Brock is back and he's the starter, then it would be like, Oh man, they would get up for that in a way that would be different from an opening season game.
That would be their Super Bowl. That would be like, okay, we got to prove right here that we should have been in the Super Bowl last year. If our quarterback was healthy, we would have been
Right?
there.
It would be fascinating to see. But whenever they play that game, that's going to be like the game of the year, the game at Warner,
Teddy
Bosa.
Bridgewater will be starting at that
Shut
point because they're
up.
already through their first two quarterbacks.
If it's the first game of the year, it'll still be Teddy.
Uh,
I'm super pumped for that game already. I'm already like looking at the opponents for 2023, and I'm like, where can they put this in the schedule? Doesn't even come out till like May. I'm already like planning it out in my head.
Who do you want to win the Super Bowl?
Nobody. I can't root.
You're going to
for
be watching
anybody.
the game. Who are you going to be slightly rooting for more than the other?
I will literally not be rooting. I wish the game could end in a tie. Honest to God. Like, I can't root for the Eagles. They just beat the 49ers. They didn't even beat the 49ers. They didn't beat the 49ers. It was just a friggin' twist of fate, and the Niners lost all quarterbacks in the game. I'm not giving the Eagles any credit. They don't have to apologize for it, but in my head, I can't root for that after they did that to the 49ers. And I can't ever root for Patrick Mahomes. He's the reason the Niners don't have a Super Bowl in 2019. I said it after the AFC Championship game. I was like, oh, there's nothing in this Super Bowl for me. I guess I have to root for the halftime show.
I'm rooting for the Eagles, obviously. Rooting for my
you
boy
love
Jalen Hurts.
Hurts.
Yes. Did you ever think a year ago that Jalen Hurts would be in a Super Bowl?
Yes, because I picked the Eagles to make the Super Bowl this year.
No, I said a year ago, like the beginning of the 2021 season.
Oh, well, the beginning of 2021 season, I didn't really give it much thought because I have not been on the Jalen Hurts train like you. But I did pick the Eagles to make the Super Bowl before the year, and I was correct. So go me.
So who do you think will win? You're not rooting for either one, but who do you think is going to come out on top?
Man, the Eagles have the better team to me by far. Easily, I think the Eagles have the better team.
It's just Patrick Mahomes somehow just keeps getting it done.
That's
no
the
matter,
thing.
like he had no ankle and he just still and no wide receivers. I mean, it was literally Marquez Valdez-Scantling and nobody else by the time that game ended. And no one's healthy right now. I'm sure. I feel like these guys will come back and play for the Super Bowl, but it's going to be interesting. I like Patrick Mahomes though. Good Lord, man, how are you this good?
He is that good. Like it literally, he's one of the few guys where it just does not matter. It's the complete opposite of the 49ers. The 49ers are all about everything around the quarterback. The Chiefs are the complete opposite. They're only about the quarterback. The Chiefs defense is not that good. Their surrounding cast, besides Mahomes, not that good. But guess what? Here they are again because he's just incredible. And it's
Travis
hard.
Kelce is just uncoverable. I just don't even understand how it's this hard to cover him. How has nobody figured it out? He's just always open. It's like, how are you always?
Because they make it up
open?
as they go along. Like they literally have hand signals and like, that nonverbal communication to just be like, run wherever. This is why it's so hard to cover Kelce, because he can do anything he wants on any play. And no matter where he runs on the field and no matter where Mahomes is on the field, he can always get him the ball. So it's just absurd.
Mahomes is going to be the next Tom Brady where he's just hurting my heart every freaking year, except the Steelers suck now. See, like the thing is the Steelers were really good. Well, Tom Brady was there, but he kept, we never did anything barely. Well, I guess they won 2 Super Bowls, but Tom Brady kept ruining, playoff season after playoff season or regular season. It was just too many heartbreaks. And I don't want Patrick Mahomes to become that where it's just like, you're annoyed to watch him win, because he's a likable guy. His brother and wife aren't, but he's a likable guy. So I don't want to start hating him, but I could see it happening because he's too good and the Chiefs are too good.
But see, like, this is why everyone's like, why do you want Trey Lance to start? Brock Purdy's really good. Because Brock Purdy, say what you want about him, he doesn't have the ceiling of a guy like Mahomes. And I understand that Mahomes is, he's a unicorn. He's one of one. But at least with Trey Lance, you have the chance to have a quarterback that might be able to put a team on his back and carry them. That's what you're hoping, right? That's why you give all those picks and draft him 3rd overall, because you're hoping to get that guy. I am tired of watching my team with quarterbacks that are not capable of doing that always have to be carried along by everybody else. I'm tired of it. That was kind of the cool thing with Colin Kaepernick. That playoff game against the Packers, he said, get on my back. We are rolling. And he carried them literally with his actual legs to victory. I want that in my quarterback. I'm tired of watching these Jeff Garcia, Jimmy Garoppolo, Cody Pickett mother effers. I'm sorry.
So yeah, Brock is kind of like it's like you got another Jimmy Garoppolo, but one that's a little bit more fun to watch. And I want to say doesn't make as many mistakes. He gets really lucky. Guys
Yes.
don't catch the tip passes or the interceptions. Like they just keep dropping them. I don't know how he got so lucky, but he does seem very Jimmy Garoppolo. Like it's pretty much the same guy, which Kyle Shanahan loves. He loves those type of guys. So we'll see. I totally agree with you. I think Trey Lance has the higher ceiling, but at this point, without any, you just brought up 420, what was it? 420 pass attempts
Yep.
since 2016. Can he come back and actually be a good NFL quarterback at that time? It just seems like so little experience for 7 years.
Oh, it is. It's the
7 years.
smallest we've ever seen. But I'm just tired of the idea that we need to know exactly what Trey Lance is before we could actually play him. That's the weirdest. Like, you don't know what
What's
anybody is.
unfortunate for Trey Lance is he went to such a good team. And I actually think that's terrible for him because he had no time for the team to actually be patient with him because they're in win now mode, and the players in the locker room don't want to be patient. Like they don't want to waste a year of their career. They want to win now. So like I get it when you want a guy that has more experience and that can lead your team. So like with Justin Fields, he was straight terrible his whole entire first season.
He
First
still
and a
is.
half season, he had a very nice ending of a season. And now because the Bears were so bad, they have the first overall pick and they're still going to go with Justin Fields. I think that's the right choice. But like he actually has time to develop. It's like Trey Lance is never going to be given that because they want to win right now. So if Trey Lance has, say, Brock Purdy's not ready to start week 1, he has a couple games to prove himself. If he's not absolutely amazing, they're going to go to Brock,
How
which kind of
stupid
stinks.
is that? Like, that's so absurd. We
Yeah.
know you've had no experience whatsoever, but if you don't kill it immediately, you're out, which calls into question why they drafted him in the first place. But I'm a little tired of I don't care that everyone in the locker room is going to be mad. They'll like us when we win, okay? Just like they like Brock because he won. If Trey Lance gets in there and wins, they're going to forget all about Brock Purdy because that's all players care about is winning. And if it pisses off the locker room that Trey Lance gets to be the starter at the beginning of the year, if they're both healthy, tough. What are they going to do? Not walk out on the field? I'm tired of hearing that narrative of, oh, the players will be mad. What do the players want to do? The players, they're going to go play. That's what they're going to do. Kyle Shanahan's the coach. He'll pick the quarterback. Like, damn, man. People are acting like they're going to revolt and refuse to take the field. Shut up with that.
I get you. I get you. But it is hard, if these veterans. The thing is, like I keep saying, like they don't want to waste a year of their career. So I'm saying if Trey Lance needs that time to develop and he does play in ways that is, not helping you win games and maybe even losing you a couple games, which a new guy that only has 420 pass attempts since 2016, he might lose you some games, right? But he
Yeah.
needs time to develop. He's just not really on a team that's able to give him that time to develop because they want to win now and they don't want to risk losing any games because of that.
But they're not winning Super Bowls now. So whatever plan that they've tried to go with, it hasn't worked anyway. So why not try something new instead of bashing your head against the wall again?
They haven't won Super Bowls, but they've made it very far in the playoffs every time they go.
Right, but that's not what they want, right? They want to win Super Bowls. You just said those veterans want to win. They don't
Yeah.
go into the season with the goal of making the NFC Championship game. Nobody in San Francisco is content right now.
Yeah.
So I say that the very same thing could have happened this year if Trey had played, right? They could have started off 3-4, and then the light bulb could have went on. It could have clicked for him, and he could have had a similar run to Brock Purdy. That could have happened. But yet, if that's what starts to happen next year, people are going to freak out, lose their minds, and Trey Lance is going to get benched.
It will, unfortunately. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be one of those annoying off seasons again where we have to talk about, are they respecting Trey Lance enough? Are they giving him enough opportunity? And it's going to be back and forth. And we're really not going to know anything about Brock until pretty much August. And until he gets into training camp and is actually able to throw a ball, we're literally going to know nothing about how his injury is and how it's going and what it's done to his arm. And did it take away any zip? Because we've already said if it even takes away a little bit of the zip, the power, it's like he was already below average in that area. You really don't have any room to play with here. And we're not going to have those answers for a really long time.
And God forbid, like, we just kind of assume that everything's going to go perfectly, right? That's the timeline. If everything is perfect, if the surgery goes perfect, first of all, if he doesn't need the full reconstruction, then if the surgery goes
Well,
perfect,
if he does need the full reconstruction, that kind of answers it for us. He's going to be out pretty much the whole year next year.
yeah, that's going to be, that will clarify some things. And that would really suck for Brock.
Yeah.
Even
Oh,
as
I
it is
feel so
now,
bad for him.
his
Yeah.
career could be over. We don't know. Like, that's not an exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. That is just a gut punch for him personally. You're the last pick in the draft. You don't know if you're ever going to get your chance. Not only do you get a chance on a great team, you go on this incredible run, and then to have it all just one play, just go up in a puff of smoke like that. I don't know how he would deal with that personally. That would really keep me like literally awake at night.
I feel so bad for him. I really do. Like you had this amazing Cinderella run and for it to end that way. So I really hope he doesn't have to have the Tommy John surgery and miss all next season because that's pretty much going to ruin his career. Like there right now it's the 49ers or bust, right? Like I don't think any other teams are like dying to go get Brock Purdy, especially after this injury. And a lot of people know, just because Purdy's good in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan doesn't mean he's going to be good with your team. Like
Yep.
they're smart enough to know this. So this is pretty much a shot here. Is to start next year for the 49ers and continue being good. But if Trey Lance gets all next year because Brock Purdy has to miss the year, then Lance could easily steal his job for good.
This is going to sound mean, and I don't mean it this way. Just from a pure football standpoint, I think the best case scenario for Trey Lance is Brock Purdy being out for the year, because then if the Niners stay true to their word and don't bring in, a viable veteran quarterback, he could get the whole year to develop. Trey could have the whole 17 games to sink or swim. And now if he gets hurt again, then I think you just cut bait, whatever. But from a pure football standpoint, the deck being cleared for Trey Lance from a development point of view is probably what's best for him. And I realize that there are personal aspects, and I'm not rooting for anybody to be more seriously hurt than they are. I'm just looking at it through that lens.
Do you think, though? I know he already said he sees no way it's going to happen, but do you think if we get, the news that Brock is going to have the Tommy John surgery, he's
Yep.
most likely to miss the year, they then sign Jimmy Garoppolo?
I think they would want to. I don't think Jimmy wants to. I think Jimmy wants to go to a place where he's the unquestioned starter, where he doesn't have to look over his shoulder and he can just roll. That's the other factor in this whole thing that's different from last year. He was under contract last year. So like he might have wanted to leave, but ultimately he was under contract. Now he's not. And so yes, he's coming off an injury, but it's an ankle injury. No one's really worried about how that's going to affect him because he was a friggin' statue anyway. So I think there's too many options for him. He could go to Washington. He can go to the Jets. He can go to the entire NFC
Raiders.
South.
Yeah.
So I just, even if the 49ers would be interested in that, I don't think that that's going to happen. And I think that's why Kyle was literally just said, no.
I could just see you just pulling your hair out if that happens.
At this point, man, I would understand it more this year than last year.
Yes, I would understand it more this year.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that that's over. And I don't think, by the way, that Jimmy Garoppolo deserves some grand send-off. I don't think we have to throw any flowers at Jimmy Garoppolo. People are acting like he was this franchise savior. I don't buy it. We paid
when a
you the
seventh
money.
round quarterback, Brock Purdy, can come in and do even better than you.
Right.
I don't think you deserve anything. And that actually would, if I was a team looking for a quarterback this year, I would be thinking about that. Like, is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be anything for our offense, or was it just Kyle Shanahan's system? And I don't think Garoppolo is going to be very good with another team. If the Raiders actually go from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo, that's going to be hilarious. They're literally the same exact quarterback. Actually, Carr is a better passer than Garoppolo. So you're actually getting a downgrade.
And for all the hate that Kyle Shanahan gets, name me a quarterback that's looked better without him. I'd be fascinated to know that answer to that question. How's Matt Ryan look without Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah.
It looks like he doesn't even belong in the league. So Kyle Shanahan won that guy an MVP. Okay. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we get a defensive coordinator soon. I know Steve Wilkes is going to interview on Monday. That would be kind of a cool, interesting thing for the Niners. I wouldn't mind seeing that now that Vic Fangio's in Miami. So there's going to be 49ers stuff. We're going to find out about Brock. That's probably the immediate thing because I imagine if he decides to have surgery, he's going to want to have it as soon as possible so he could be back as soon as possible. We're going to find out about Brock. We're going to find out about the defensive coordinator situation. The Niners have a ton of free agents. We should get into that maybe next week, Michelle. We can go through all the free agents, decide who stays and who goes.
Yep. We should definitely do that. And I have some free agents. I want them to, they have to be lower end because it's not like they have a ton of money to be playing with. They have to pay Nick Bosa, but we could definitely hop into all of that and figure out what they need to do.
And that's going to be the other thing, the Bosa deal. I mean, that massive amount of money that he is going to get
so
and
much money.
Earn every single penny. I know you were trashing him before we hit record.
I was not trashing him. He just, he wasn't a difference maker in the playoffs. That's all.
And, just because you don't get sacks doesn't mean you don't affect the game. That's all I'm saying.
Just he was the little ghost there for a lot of the games.
Jeez. So there's going to be a ton to happen this offseason, and it's just going to be a little different. But you're right about even your draft preview stuff. You better dive deep.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I mean,
this year.
there's going to be no way I get any of that right. With, I mean, when's our first pick?
The 3rd round.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, they have enough picks. They could trade up into the 2nd round if they want to, for sure. They have 11 picks in the draft. If they really wanted to, they could potentially make a move. I don't think it's going to be like last year where they did not make a single trade. But I think that's why it's important that Adam Peters stayed, because he's been a huge part of their draft success that they have had, and it's been in the later rounds, and that's where they're going to have to live this year.
Well, the 3rd round has been garbage for them. So maybe they need to either trade down or trade up. Just get rid of your 3rd round picks, please.
Don't take a running back for one. How about that?
For once, just don't.
Did you see, by the way, who was inactive for the NFC Championship game? Trey Sermon. On the Eagles.
Well, Ty Davis-Price has done absolutely nothing.
Could not see the field. Did you see what they said about Drake Jackson in the end of year press conference? Kyle said he lost his power at the end of the year. Basically, he hit the rookie wall, and that was it. So hit the gym there, Drake. You got a whole offseason now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to need to hit on some of these guys for sure. But 11 picks, that's a pretty good, you should be able to get a couple good guys to start this year. Spencer Burford started, all season. So you can get some starters. Now, we talked about how he didn't grade out very well at PFF, like 4th worst in the league. But you thought he outperformed that grade by a lot. So you don't agree with PFF.
Well, and you mentioned both guards. Burford, I could believe that a little more. I thought he was good enough. Like we talked about being tall enough to ride the bumper cars with Brock Purdy. I think Burford in this system was good enough, but I was surprised to hear Aaron Banks was graded so low because I thought he did a damn good job.
Yeah, I was telling you that the 49ers are the only team this year that have 2 starting guards with a grade under 60 for PFF.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't remember watching a ton of games being like, their guards suck, because I was worried about that going into the year. That was my whole thing. And I don't know, but look, PFF, that's what they do. But I was surprised that Banks was so low. I don't even think, did he allow a sack this year? I think he might have only allowed certainly less than 5 sacks. I think it was probably 2 or 3 sacks the whole year. So I was really surprised that he was graded that low. I know the 49ers seem happy with him.
Yeah, I don't remember thinking, wow, Aaron Banks sucks out there, but I don't pay a ton of attention to the guards, so
how dare you?
I'll leave that to PFF, and they're saying they did pretty bad.
Well, we'll see. We're going to find out a lot about what they think about this roster, who they sign, who they draft. All that stuff tells you much more meaningful information than anything they say behind a microphone. So we will find out, and we will be with you throughout the entire offseason. I don't even know, Michelle. Do you know off the top of your head what dates are the combine this year?
Oh, I have no idea.
It's coming up, though. It's in February every year. Usually it's the last week of February. Let me see. 2023 combine. I'm going to Google it real quick on the air. Thrilling stuff here. Oh, March 3rd. It doesn't start till? Boo.
Well, because they probably pushed it back a week with the Super Bowl being
because Super Bowl's,
and then also the national championship. They have more teams now in college football in the playoffs, so that's probably pushed back. I do actually really like the combine once it comes, but right now I'm not. I could really use this month off of not caring about football, as much.
It's going to be wild though, because you're going to have the combine in March, and then the new
Free
league year
agency.
starts like
Yeah.
March 15th, around there. So like we're going to be off and running. You got
Free
like,
agency first day is so much fun. I mean, like
oh,
nothing really ever happens like we want it to, but it's so much fun. Just
there are
like waiting by your phone and like waiting for updates.
yes,
Yeah.
that's the whole fun of it. Like there are certain days that are great Twitter days.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Just refresh.
Yeah.
Put your notifications on so you don't miss like a Schefter or a Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, anything like that, and just sit back and just
I love
watch.
free agency. The first day. The best.
Where the 49ers will do precisely
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, whatever happens, we'll be here with you again. Rate, review, follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Stay subscribed to Niners Nation for now. Hopefully, I should have all of that straightened out by March. So just hang with us on the dual feed situation for a little while longer. We really do appreciate it. Also, if you need some Niners gear or some just cool pop culture gear, clothes, go to Homage. Use the link in the description for this show on the pod or on YouTube. Click that link so we get credit for it. And you can go to Homage. They have awesome stuff. I know, Michelle, you've been sporting the Homage gear lately.
Oh my goodness. I can't take that sweatshirt off. My dad is actually in town, like I brought up, and he's a huge Steelers fan. That's why I'm a Steelers fan. He's getting very mad at me for wearing this 49ers gear. But he actually tried to hide it on me when I washed it one time. He tried to hide it, so I couldn't find it, but I did find it and I still wore it. I can't take this thing off because it's the most comfortable sweatshirt I've ever owned in my life. And it's just so cute.
There you go. So stock up. Pick out. Sometimes you got to pick out new stuff for a new season. Your old stuff gets like bad juju, and you got to put it aside for a little while. Get some new stuff. So load up on the Homage gear. We appreciate that. If you want to support us, support them. Michelle, it's great to be potting with you again. I look forward to it every week. You never let me down.
Oh, I love potting with you too, Smush Face. Bye, y'all.